This guy compared Jalen Hurts to Brock Purdy. Once again, you didn't get the bullshit out of your ears. I said financially, Purdy is going to be a better situation than Jalen Hurts is going to be. You know why? Once again, because Purdy makes $900,000 on a rookie contract, and they're not going to lose players. They got to an NFC championship game with him. It's more difficult than Philly when you're paying a guy $50 million. I never said he was better. I said it's a better situation. Some can't hear. Some refuse to hear. Some don't want to know the truth and how you continually become successful. The league doesn't want you to have a dynasty and stockpile players. It's designed that way. That's how it is. See, look at Eagle fan here. You're going to lose, say, Miles Sanders, your entire secondary, and potentially both your linebackers and maybe every defensive tackle you have except for Milton Williams and Jordan Davis. And that idiot thinks you're going to have a better roster than San Francisco. How's that possible? They're not losing anybody. How's that possible? San Francisco will have the same roster intact with rookies that they drafted. You won't. You will not. It is not an opinion. It is fact. Cody asked the question, why is it designed that way? Why doesn't the NFL want dynasties? Didn't it do good for the NBA in the 80s and 90s? Cody, you had Bird and Magic, black and white, Celtics and Lakers. That's a whole different dynamic. They saved the NBA. And you had good teams. Sixers were good. Milwaukee was good. Don Nelson had a good team in Milwaukee. Hell, the Golden State Warriors with Mullen was good. Portland Trailblazers were good with Drexler. Hakeem down in Houston. It was more spread out, and guys showed up and played every night. The NBA's problems are not about dynasties. The NBA players don't give a shit about the regular season anymore. Okay? You're not going to have the same roster. Kansas City doesn't. Kansas City has the lesser roster today than they did the first Super Bowl win. Fact. Just goes to show you, Dan, Brian's right. You guys don't know how the NFL works. You fall in love with these players, you should never fall in love. You should have you know what they should have at NFL stadiums every year? Tearaway jerseys. You know why? So you could tear the name off the back of the jersey and put a new name on, because the NFL doesn't want you stockpiling players. NFL never did it in New England. You can't stockpile players. Why do you think the Steelers don't believe in free agency? They believe in the draft, developing their own from within. Name me a top flight free agent that the Pittsburgh Steelers in the last 50 years have brought in. Let me think. Jerome Bettis. Name me another one. They're going through the circus at quarterback because they're making a transition from Roethlisberger, who was there 17 years. Name me a big-time free agent in Pittsburgh that they brought in ever. Ever. A big-time free agent. They don't believe in it. You know why? It keeps them cheap. It balances the cap. They don't overextend at any position. That's why they win. The Steelers have not had but 3 coaches since 1969 for a reason. They're the gold standard of how you run an NFL team. They're the gold standard. Best coaches, they develop from within, and the Steelers are always good. Always. Maybe not Super Bowl, but they're always competitive and always win. Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season in 16 years? Don't tell me what organization's the gold standard. The gold standard's in Pittsburgh. Always will be. Plus, there's 6 Super Bowls. Fitzpatrick. They make some trades, but free agents, it's not what they do. You know why? Keeps them cheap. You don't have bad contracts in Pittsburgh. Shit, you're Alshon Jeffrey. You want to hear something that Philly had? This year, you get the Alshon Jeffries $5 billion finally off your books going into the 2023 new year. You had 2 years of that idiot's contract still on your books. Wasn't even on your team. Shit contract. Shit teammate. Cancer in the locker room. Pick one. James Harrison was a free agent signing. He was cut 3 times by the Baltimore Ravens. He was a guy they signed for nothing. He was cut and signed. They found him walking the street. All right. How many people have faith in Howie Roseman getting ready for the April draft? By the way, real quick, you want to know how fast the NFL season is on you? Do you want to know how fast? February 26th, I believe, the combines. Then March free agency starts. What's the one thing Alshon Jeffrey sucked out loud and was a horrible teammate and a decisive person in the locker room? Awful. And by the way, you cost the Eagles an NFC championship game appearance with your pathetic drop in New Orleans. Pathetic. What an absolute cancer teammate. How many people like Howie Roseman as a draft evaluator? What do you think? What do you think of Howie as a talent evaluator when it comes to the NFL draft? Forte says getting better. DC Green says he's horrendous. F, he's bad. Sade says he's good. Not good drafting. I like when he's good at deals, MJ. He's getting better. He's been suspect. Okay. This is CBS confirming what Big Sills has been telling you about this guy's inability. Yeah, Tone, I want to hear your thoughts. How we better lean on his scouts. Tone, what do you make of Howie as a talent evaluator for the draft? I'll never forgive Rager. He sucks. All right. So CBS came out today and said they went back and drafted or looked at the 2022 NFL draft and ranked the classes. Howie Roseman's rookie class was ranked 30th out of 32 teams. 30th. There's only 32 teams. 30th. That class too early. '30th, not Dan. CBS Sports ranked him 30th out of 32. And you think he's a good GM. You trust him with drafting corners? Who's his best? Guys, you guys are the resident historians. I'm learning. Who's the best corner that he's ever drafted? He may need two of them. I told him to take the kid from Washington. You guys hated him. And he's starting for Kansas City now on a rookie contract at corner. And you got a 32-year-old Slay who's making $18 million. Who's the best cornerback that Roseman's ever drafted? The best corner we have. No, Tone. Not we. Because it was Joe Banner. Lito Shepherd was a Banner guy. I looked that up too. I told you guys to take McDuffie. You guys hated it. That's Xander. Xander will tell you. I told you to take the kid Lloyd from Utah and McDuffie from Washington. Oh, those guys suck. They both start. Lito is a Joe Banner guy. Shit, Douglas is on the Packers with a brand new contract extension. Look at these bums, you guys. Look. So he can't draft corners. And would we not agree that's the top priority? See, Howie Roseman picks Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson. Okay, let's go here now. Who's the best edge rusher Howie Roseman's ever drafted? Did Howie draft Josh Sweat? I like Josh Sweat. I like Josh Sweat. I actually like him. He's picked his game up. Okay? Trent Cole? I thought that was Andy Reid guy. I thought Andy Reid was a Trent. I thought Andy Reid was in the Trent Cole room. Okay? Yeah, Howie didn't draft Trent Cole. That's Joe Banner and Reed. So Josh Sweat. Brandon Graham, solid player. Elite? No. No. He's never really drafted an elite pass rusher. So he's not very good at corner. He was good on Sweat, but really, he also had to go to free agency to get an edge rusher. So he has to go to free agency to get corners and edge rushers. Let's move to linebacker. How good is Howie Roseman drafting linebackers? Who's the best linebacker that Howie Roseman has drafted? So he's not good at corners. Josh Sweat is a good draft. Rest. You got to go get Hassan Reddick. Nakobe Dean is not a good pick. Nakobe Dean. I'd rather have Jimmy Dean. At least the sausages are better. Dude, give me Jimmy Dean. Maple syrup style too, please. Hicks, Jordan Hicks. Just face it, Sills, we need to give Howie the day off on draft day. 5-star. Okay, so wait a minute. So hey, do you understand here what's playing out here? So he's not good with linebackers. I'm looking at the draft history for the Eagles over the past several years, and man, it's not that good. Hold up. Whoa. Yeah. Wait a minute, Tone. You need that draft to rebuild your team and get cheaper. Hold on here. Let's go to defensive tackles. Who drafted Fletcher Cox? Wasn't that a Joe Banner and Andy Reid? Wasn't that Joe Banner and Andy? Hartgrave was a trade, right, with Pittsburgh or something. Who's his best D tackle? Tone, did Fletcher Cox, was he drafted by Howie? Andy Reid. What does he do good? It was Reid's last year when they drafted Fletcher Cox. Shit, Brandon Graham too was a Andy Reid and Joe Banner. Those are like some of the last guys remaining from the Reid era, right? Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce. There's not one thing he does well on defensive personnel that makes me think this guy's going to retool that team through the draft. If I'm Howie Roseman, I look at free agency because he's been great at that. He's a great GM at free agency. But when it comes to drafting, he's terrible. Howie's best DT drafted is Milton Williams and Jordan Davis if he pans out. I have no faith in Howie Roseman as general manager in the upcoming April draft. Show me where. Show me where. And Tone, this is for the Twitter guys. You show me one place in the upcoming April draft where Howie Roseman, since he's been in charge of personnel, where you feel comfortable with him picking. He has sucked out loud at cornerback, linebacker, and defensive tackle, and edge rushers. Josh Sweat is developing into a good one. The rest of them stink. Jordan Davis, we don't know yet. On the defensive side, hey, and by the way, you know why you're hitting home runs in the O-line? Jeff Stoutland's helping in the evaluation, which is the smart thing to do. What's Howie Roseman's greatest draft choice on defense since he's been put in charge of defensive personnel or personnel of the Eagles? Who's his best player? Tone, who's his best player that he's drafted? Josh Sweat? He's not bad. He could develop into a Pro Bowler. Okay? He could. I like the player. One defensive player that Howie Roseman has drafted where you went, that guy's a stud. Name me one. And I'll go, oh, you're right. Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham were drafted by Joe Banner and Andy Reid, not by Howie. Miss? So CBS is onto something here. Howie Roseman in the April draft. You know why Howie Roseman won the last April draft? Because he traded for A.J. Brown. Got a first-round pick for it. You might want to go into free agency because he's excellent at it. Howie is excellent at free agency. There's no denying that. It was a list of grand slams last year. Stick to it. Would we not agree the Rams do the same thing in theory? The only thing that the Eagles don't do, and they're smart to do this, they don't give these 3-year contract extensions like to Jalen Ramsey and other guys that come into the place where their cap gets annihilated. That's not what he does. Tone just said that the best pick in Howie Roseman's time as his general manager and in charge of personnel defensively is Josh Sweat. Not a bad pick. But it is a nosedive from that player to the next. It's a nosedive. He's terrible at corners. He's terrible at linebacker. He's terrible at defensive tackle. He's a D at edge rusher. All your impact players last year were free agents. Your wide receiver, your edge rusher, both your corners. Those were your impact players. You didn't draft them. They were mercenaries. Edwards was not a draft choice. He was a free agent sign. He was undrafted, which basically meant you got lucky. And Andy and Banner left at the end of the 2012 season. Chip was here for 2013 to 15. Howie didn't have full control until 16, the Carson Wentz draft. That's the progression. 2016. He's terrible at picking defensive personnel. He's terrible at picking defensive coordinators. I think it goes hand in hand. So basically, he's still relatively new at his talent evaluating thing, right? Then why would you put a guy who's relatively, let me use Tone's word, relatively new at drafting a team that you have to rebuild in the offseason? And you gave him a contract extension because he got you to the Super Bowl. Because you know why? He went out in free agency and covered all of his mistakes using the owner's money on cheap deals. Pretty slick. It's not how you build a dynasty, though. It's not how you build a dynasty. Could that team be a 4-win team in 3 years? Yeah. Some bad moves, some injuries, lack of depth, quarterback making a lot of money. Could you be a 4-win team? Yeah. You could be just like the Rams, but not in salary cap hell like them. That's the difference here. Tones like this. Never let it unnoticed how he's the money guy and damn a lawyer. He moves the way he does for a reason. Sounds like a snake to me. That's how snakes move. Because lawyers move like snakes. Matt says, Sills, per NBC Sports, Howie has only hit on 2 first-round picks, Cox and Devonta Smith. I'm being told Fletcher Cox was not a Howie Roseman draft. Here. We'll end it right now. What year was Fletcher Cox drafted by the Eagles?
2012.
2012? Dude. Who was the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles in 2012?
Howie Roseman. According to some information.
That's right, Tone. There was two stints he had as GM. He took over early, like in the early 2000s, I thought. Then there was a gap. Then he came back. Okay? Because was 2012. So he got Fletcher was a great pick. Okay, it's a mistake. Relax. Okay, wait a minute. That doesn't. Hey, Tone, don't worry about it. His one Fletcher Cox deal. Yeah, 2010 to 14 as GM, then got elevated in 15 after Chip left. Okay, that I thought there were 2 stints. However, hey, Tone, Fletcher Cox is not going to cover this guy's shitty drafting history. It's not. Josh Sweat and Fletcher Cox don't cover shit on defense. 2 picks in 20 years, that doesn't cut it. L for Howie as a drafter on defense. L. Big L. Not little L. Big L. Hey, Tone. What's his Tone? Hey, you were wrong on Fletcher. So Fletcher and Josh, the rest of them, hey, that made it better over 20 years. He's only had 2 guys that panned out on defense. The rest of them had all been free agents. Joseph goes, I have a better draft history than Howie. So, for all this being said, you feel comfortable with Howie Roseman rebuilding this team through what? What? Don't you think that the history of the Eagles is more in free agency than in the draft? So this is what I would do. I would trade those picks down or trade them like they did for A.J. Brown. Go out and get maybe an interior D lineman, or maybe go out and get an experienced linebacker like the kid in Tampa. He's 25 years old. Maybe you bring those guys in and you make them part of your foundation. Because trusting Howie at corner or linebacker or defensive tackle is a reach. He sucks. The 2022 class, in my opinion, as of February 15th, is a bust. Am I wrong? We got to wait and see. Jesus criminy. You had 20 games. Nobody got on the field if your name is Jacoby Dean. That guy couldn't even get on the... Wait a minute. You know what really even is crazy? Jacoby Dean didn't even make an impact in those shitty special teams. And you're trying to suggest to me he's going to take over for Kaiser White and have an impact on the 1 through 3 downs defense every Sunday? How could you think that? Wait a minute. He'll be better, Sills. He'll be better in the defensive scheme than he was in special teams. He was a nobody in special teams. Nobody. Terrible draft. CBS got him ranked 30th of 32 teams. Whew. I'm going to show you something else here. By the way, Joey Porter Jr., I think he's kind of slow. You ask me, I think he's kind of slow. Okay? I got to see more film on him. But I think he's kind of slow for a corner. And they kind of played him at Penn State like a Wolverine. They kind of played him all over the field. Small version of a linebacker, dropped him in the corner. And again, once again, quarterbacks in the Big Ten. Let's see. That overrated C.J. Stroud and who? Iowa? Indiana? Shit, Michigan don't even have a quarterback. Michigan State? Name me another quarterback in the Big Ten outside of C.J. Stroud. Name me one. Name me one. See, look at what somebody just said. Big Sil's hating today. How am I hating? I'm pointing out facts. See, that's the controversial thing that people always get sideways on. When you start pointing out reality, what, you hated the fact that I pointed out that Howie Roseman's a terrible draft evaluator? That's hating? Or so you'd rather have me sit here throwing rose petals at the guys' drafts that aren't true? Huh. STN goes, Joey Porter's locked up Ohio State. Wow. Oof. Yeah, Ryan Day has that program headed in the right direction. What's Ryan Day done since he's been the head coach at Ohio State? Got to beat Michigan, dude. You can't even beat a quarterback at Michigan who won't even make it in the XFL. Hey, Michigan is beating Ohio State with XFL quarterbacks. Hey, right? They're losing. Okay. One thing I'll say, Sileo, at least needing a quarterback. That's a true statement. It makes that makes the drafting a lot easier when you don't have to draft a quarter. I still think they draft a quarterback, though, in latter rounds. Let me show you something, too. What's probably still eating at many fans about the Super Bowl here. Still said, name me one great defensive player, how we drafted. We said Cox. Okay, you're right. Cox covers all the shitty drafts that he's had. Here, well, I'll tell you what, Eagle. I'll rephrase it. You tell me how he's been as a talent evaluator in the NFL draft. He named me Fletcher Cox. Fantastic. Brandon Graham. No one else. Good night. He's been there 20 years. He sucks. 0 corners, 0 linebackers, 1 edge rusher, and 1 DT. This guy will have you believe that he's a good talent drafter. Let me point this out to you. Hardgrave, $13 million. Reddick, $15 million. Cox, $14 million. $43 million. Sweat, $13 million. There's $56 million. Davis, 2, $58. Sue and Joseph, 6 combined. $65 million they spent to get to Mahomes. And they didn't even sniff his ass. You spent $65 million on your front 4. And you can't get anywhere. 65. 18 on a corner. 9 on the other corner. And you lay an egg like that in the Super Bowl. That's a lot of money on no return. You invested all that money and you come up short. Whew. Man, that's a lot of money. $65 million in your front four and your backups, and you couldn't get home because your coordinator couldn't get them home. Players not playing either, too. But you couldn't get home. Oh. Okay. You couldn't get home. That field was shit. Maniac. It was shit for the Chiefs, too. Bad calls. Field's bad. Sound like the 49er fans. Field was bullshit. Referee sucked. You got beat. You got to eat it. That's what it is. Field was bad. Hey, I'm surprised Eagle fans haven't brought this one up. They got stopped in traffic and the cops had to go get them. Hey, I will say that, Maniac, I will say this, though. You know Park Avenue now is doing this. Thank God the Chiefs won. We can market our boy. Oh, my God, Patrick Mahomes. I love you. Oh, there's a love fest going on after that game. I love you, Patrick. I love you, Clark Hunt. Oh, my God, one of the great franchises. We even named the AFC trophy after your papa. 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 Papa's got a trophy named after him? The Lamar Hunt AFC Championship Trophy. This is so wonderful. Oh, my God, do you know this for a fact? They wanted Cowboys and Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That's a dream come true. Mahomes and the Cowboys. Oh, man. Roger Goodell would have had a coronary right there in Patrick Mahomes' arms. He would have had a heart attack. Do you understand that the Chiefs and the Eagles had the third most watched, not football game, they had the third most watched television show in the history of broadcasting? Can you imagine if the Chiefs and Cowboys were in that thing? Good night. Good night. Oh, my God. Oh, Roger Goodell was all over. Boy, I tell you, that was a bad look, I thought. I did. He's hugging Mahomes. Come on, man. Come on, dude. I get Mahomes. Mahomes is a great face of the league. He surely is. It's a benchmark. It's a benchmark franchise, Chiefs. I get that too. I totally get it. And you know what? I understand it. But come on, man. Show a little bit of respect for the Eagles. I thought the Eagles got shit on the whole time, man. By the way, who had the better facilities to train at? Do you actually think the pro facilities are better than the college facilities? Have you ever been to Arizona State? I have. My daughter plays against Arizona State. They got 79 fields. Their practice facility is state of the art. The Cardinals, it's okay. You guys practice at the Cardinals. They didn't give you one thing that was decent. Not even the police escort. Oh, they're stuck in traffic? Go get them. Oh, man. I was like, what? Then you got the commissioner of the league hugging on his ass. I love you, Patrick. It was so dopey looking. And it was cringeworthy, too, I thought. Then the referee, hey, so when you got the Eagle fans bitching about like Maniac, when you've got the fans bitching about the surface, the calls, the practice facility, the escort to the game, the whole thing, the commissioner hugging all over Mahomes like that was his own lost son, the whole thing comes up like, did you really want Kansas City to win that bad? Sure looks it. I like the kid Brees, 85. I do. Who do I have him going to? I got him going to the Commanders at 16. I think the Commanders are going to lose somebody in that defensive line, and I think they're going to end up trying to draft him. We had the same schedule as the Cowboys. You think you're as popular as the Cowboys? Look at 5-Star thinks he's as popular as the Cowboys. You think you're as popular as the Cowboys? You might want to reel that one back in and take a look at the history of the TV ratings and see who the top television shows were this year. 9 out of 10 are Cowboy games. That's not a rip on you. It's facts. The Commanders will lose Wentz. Whew. I'm broken up over that one. Look at James. Cowboys are popular. Cowboys are the most watched because they're the most loved and hated. Only other team that comes close are the Patriots. Matt A. Hey, hey, Cowboys. The last time I saw the Cowboys, there was no internet. The last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, there was no internet. Okay, and everyone had a fax machine, including my aunt. Oh, man. Cowgirls are America's team. How could you be America's team and not win? It's Jerry. You know why? Because Jerry only gives a shit about being a TV star to match the star on the helmet. He don't care about winning. If you cared about winning, get out of the way. Hey, Sills, when's the last time the Cowboys won? Well, I remember like there was some sort of thing going on with Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. Something about a dress. It's all I remember. Something about a blue dress? Or was it green? There's something about a blue dress. The last time the Cowboys were good, something about Monica Lewinsky, I think doing something with like her oatmeal. I wasn't sure. Something got on her dress. I don't remember. Well, I think it was oatmeal. Monica Lewinsky and the Cowboys. Something there. I don't remember. And Bill Clinton. Something I forget what it was. That's the last time the Cowboys were good. Sills, what's the last time the Cowboys? Well, you know, man, I think didn't I have to like dial up AOL? Didn't I have to put like a disc in and pay like $19.99 for my internet? You put a disc in and it made some crazy ass noise. Right? Some shit like that, right? It's like a disc. Right? That's the last time the Cowboys. It's actually fact. 95 was it the last time they did anything that was worth a shit? Monica was pretty. Okay. Yeah. Dial-up internet. Sometimes that's what they have out in California too, because you know they have so many great taxes out in California. Punks. Oh man, I'll tell you what. Oh, hey. Let me finish up a little bit here on the Jalen Hurts framework. By the way, Gardner Johnson is a massive target for the Eagles to re-sign. You got mail. He's a massive target. He's the second most important player after Jalen Hurts in free agency and getting a deal done with CJ Gardner Johnson. He's number 2 behind Jalen Hurts. That's a fact. And Adam Schefter's reporting that he is the number 2 priority. Okay? He's a number 2 priority. They want him desperately, which makes me think they'll drop 12 on him. Okay? Which makes me think they'll drop $12 million, okay, on the guy. So, okay, if I misspoke about Jalen being a free agent, he's not. He's got another year on his rookie contract. Jesus Christ, thank you very much. But he's a number 1 objective in this offseason. Number 2, I should say, C.J. Gardner-Johnson behind Jalen Hurts. Gardner-Johnson's a free agent. Jalen's got another year. It would be an extension. So people are like 2 years old. CJ's a must sign. CJ's going for $15 million. By the way, did you hear what Hardgrade said this morning? I'm not coming back on a cheap deal. Bradbury. Bradbury says he's not coming back on a cheap deal. He's gone. I wouldn't even waste the effort if I were the Eagles to go after him. I draft a guy, the kid Gonzalez, maybe from Oregon. If Witherspoon is there, I think he'll be earlier. My preference is Witherspoon from Illinois. But I think he's going to go to the Lions. They need help on that side of the ball. I'm not drafting a safety at 10. I may trade down pretty deep in the corner position. Joey Porter's probably going to go 17. The kid Gonzalez is rated higher than Porter. Deonte Banks, the kid from Maryland, has a high rating. I'm suspect about Big Ten corners because they don't play anybody. Now, they play good wideouts, but at one school, Ohio State. Watch this. Let me show you why, guys. Let me show you why it's kind of a risk to look at corners from the Big Ten and quarterbacks. Okay. Name me a wide receiver in the NFL, not from Ohio State, who's a star. Let's think about it. Nobody from Michigan. Nobody from Purdue. Nobody from Wisconsin. Nobody from Nebraska. Chris Godwin, okay. What I thought he was an Ohio State guy. Robinson, Dotson, and Godwin. Are those elite receivers? Yeah, Sauce Gardner played at Cincinnati. Penn State has a couple good receivers. Stephon Diggs, where did he play college ball? Was he a Michigan State guy? Cooper Kupp is not a Big Ten guy. What college did Chris Godwin play at?
Penn State.
Penn State guy. Okay. He's decent. Devonta Adams is a Fresno State guy. Devonta, I don't even have to look. Devonta Adams went to Fresno State. He did not go to the Big Ten. Cincinnati's not a Big Ten school. So when you draft a corner, how many good wideouts are you playing every week? When you're in the Southeastern Conference, you're playing against Devontae Smith, Jamarcus Chase, Calvin Ridley, Jalen Waddle, Mike Evans. You got the elite guys in the world every week playing against them. Julio Jones, also an Alabama guy. And back in his day, Julio was a great player back in his day. My point is, so when you draft a cornerback out of the Big Ten, who have they played? Who have they guarded? It's like the Carson Wentz conversation. How did you know Carson Wentz was going to be a good ball player when he played against North Dakota, when he was at North Dakota State playing nobodies? And once they caught up with who he was and they had game film on him, he's terrible. Same thing with Trey Lance. He's not going anywhere. He's the same guy. CeeDee Lamb's an OU guy. That's Big 12, dude. That's not Big 10. Samuel, he's South Carolina. He's a Southeastern Conference guy. You're playing against those kind of dudes. You're playing against the Chases. You're playing against like Devonta Smiths of the world, Waddles, Deebo Samuels. But in the Big Ten, you're not playing them dudes. So I'm always suspect on grabbing a corner from the Big Ten. Those wideouts at Ohio State are really good. They're really good ball players. OBJ, another LSU guy. Justin Jefferson, LSU. Dude, the top receivers in the game, most of them are Ohio State, Clemson, Bama, LSU. Those are your factories. Penn State corner? I can't think of one. And I'm not saying you shouldn't evaluate him and look at him, but man, they don't have competition in that conference. That's why when they get in to the Final Four, they get annihilated. Michigan will never win a national championship. Why do you think a guy like Brian Kelly left Notre Dame? Because he doesn't get the talent the SEC gets. Dude, Ohio State and Michigan in the Southeastern Conference would win 9-10 games every year. Wait till Oklahoma and Texas get in there. Shit, they can't win 10 games in the Big 10 or in the Big 12. You think they're going to win 11 games in the Southeastern Conference? Good luck. Why do you think Lincoln Riley ran away from Oklahoma and went to SC? Because he's got a better road to the Final Four in the Pac-12. You think Oklahoma and Texas are going to be better in the SEC? Okay. Yeah, all right. Sure. Yeah, Penn State puts out some good wideouts. They're decent. The kid Dotson looks good for the Commanders. He does. But so you want to draft a cornerback from the Big Ten who plays nobody. So Ringo from Georgia. I don't think he's a first rounder. I don't think he's a first rounder. Now, that doesn't mean he can't play. I want to double check. Yeah, that's not my mock draft 1.0. The corners that I have in this draft are Witherspoon from Illinois, Christian Gonzalez, Oregon, Porter, Penn State, Deonte Banks, Maryland. That's the corners that I have in the first round. I have one safety also. Brian Branch, Bama. I have him going to the Patriots. So let's do this. Hit the like button. Hour number 3, Merrill Reese will join us.